How are you? Sean Pistoma, 28 Morford Place. I'm here tonight just as a citizen, and you remember I was at a council meeting a little while back, maybe April? I think we were talking about banning smoking in parks. Remember that, right? We're talking about that? Do you remember that? Okay. Kathy, I think you said something like, well, I think it's a good idea because it'll prevent cigarette butts from going into the river. Right? Does that sound like something you said? Okay. It is something you said. Yeah, no,
I have to look at the minutes.
Okay. Well, it really stuck out in my mind. So when was the last time anybody here has ever been in the Navasink River, down off of West Sunset? Yeah, right there in the river. Has anybody been there recently? Okay. And what have you seen?
It needs to be cleaned up.
What's in there?
It's garbage.
What garbage? What kind of garbage?
There's lots of large metal items that shouldn't be
Right.
retired, that kind of.
Yeah, 55-gallon drums.
Very, very concerned about that.
Right, 55-gallon drums. What was in those 55-gallon drums? What's in them? They're rusted out right on the banks of the water, and we're talking about banning smoking in a park to save the environment. And we're talking about all these nutty ideas like banning plastic bags and everything else to save the environment. Meanwhile, you've allowed, and not told anybody about it, by the way. I don't know when you guys have ever told anybody about it, but we've got 55-gallon drums, 50 and 60-year-old construction equipment and construction materials in the river, not more than about 50 feet from where people cast their line and fish. Now, you can sit here and say, right, Patty, that's your favorite line, you're grandstanding, right? But I'm not grandstanding. There are 55-gallon drums in the river. Now, you want to say I'm angry? You bet I am. 55-gallon drums. Not only that, a tree grown right through a tire, probably about, I'm no horticulturist or whoever would know anything about trees, but I can tell you right now, it's about 10 to 12 feet tall. So how long has that stuff been there? This is not something new. This has been there for a long time. And what have you done about it? As the liaison to the Environmental Commission, what have you done? I'm very angry. Yeah, I'll answer that for you right away.
Perhaps the borough engineer could outline for you the steps the borough's been taking over the past, 10 years with regard to the old landfill.
Sure.
Perhaps you could summarize what the borough's been doing?
Yeah, no, if you don't mind, just one.
No. We're going to answer this question.
No, I will.
You asked the question.
I promise, Stanley, I will add, but here's
Mr. Solomon,
Yeah.
you asked the question, you got to speak, and I think the administrator would like the engineer to comment afterwards. Let the engineer speak.
Beginning probably about 10 or so years ago, obviously this was a landfill site. We all know that. We had an incinerator. We first applied to Monmouth County Community Block Development for grant funding there. And their program was only going to give us about $100,000, but this is an 8-acre site. And extensive cleanup was required. So they directed us to the HDSRF program, the Hazardous Discharge Site Remediation Fund. In order to qualify for funding under that program, we had to deed restrict the property so that it would be used for parklands only. So we've done that. We have been in the process with the state of New Jersey in doing the first phase is site investigation. You have to go through, we've done extensive testing because you have to identify exactly what are the contaminants, what's the extent of the contaminants, what are they affecting, waterways, etc., natural habitat. We are still in that process. Part of the reason for that is it's a hurry up and wait. There's a lot of people that are vying for a very limited pot of money. So we'll do an investigation and you get to a stage of when it's basically a contract with the state of New Jersey of what investigation you're going to do. We've done that now twice. I think we've received upwards of $500,000 or no more. Because,
It's about $800,000 last time I checked, but that was only partial funding that we got. We haven't gotten it completed because, as you know, environmental cleanup sites, whether they are municipal or privately owned, are a long-term solution. They're not a one-year solution.
And we did identify the drums, the containers, etc. However, it is a bald eagle foraging area. We can't even just take samples along the waterway without having a permit for it. we actually had to hire a professional, an expert who works with Fish, Game, and Wildlife that goes in and they look at the contamination and they look at the wildlife, and their report actually has to be presented to the state of New Jersey to say, is the contamination so bad that it's worth disturbing the natural habitat to clean it up? Or is the contamination not so bad that, and the habitat would be affected so much that it should stay exactly how it is? That's the process we're in exactly right now. We're wrapping up probably now phase 4 of the investigation only for this. And to date, all of the investigation that has been done has not been by using Red Bank taxpayer funding. It's 100% funding from the state of New Jersey through the hazardous discharge site remediation.
And that included the demolition and removal of the contaminated incinerator building and smokestack.
Right, that's where the borough used to burn all their garbage back in the day. There was a big incinerator there with a smokestack. Some people might remember that, but that environmentally was a big hurdle. And that's how we first got involved with it. That came down. When that came down, they started testing the ground for contamination.
Okay, so,
And we're actually obligated at some point or another to change that, to eventually wind up with a park there.
Mhm.
That's the agreement all the way through, like, we're held to see that through.
Or we have to
Reimburse.
gotcha. So, just a question, didn't that smokestack come down, I guess, 4 years ago now? About, or so?
It's about that.
Okay,
Yeah, it's
so-
about that.
So about 4 years ago. Now, has anybody, if we're having trouble with the state of New Jersey, I know, has anybody alerted our state legislators to this? Or even not, or not even just ours, but the ones across the river, like, I don't know, we have 6, right? Joe Carrillo's, Amy Hanlon, Declan O'Scanlan, Jennifer Beck, Caroline Casper, and Mary Pat Angeline, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
In fact, that's what happened because we were in a 2-year waiting. We had submitted for a second round of, the most recent round of funding, we had submitted our application. We were told we were in line to get funding. The Kroc Center came in Camden, kind of gobbled up pretty much all the money that was there, but yet we were told we were in line, and our legislators helped push us through. We got funding, although it took 2 years. So we had first round, we had done some investigation, waited 2 years, got additional funding, and now we're finishing up that process.
Got it. So of those 6 people, did anybody think to say, hey guys, why don't you guys come take a look at this and come look at the drums in the water and call somebody at Fish and Wildlife or whatever department we have to deal with this at the state and say, hey, look, this is old construction equipment. God knows what the hell that is, okay? So it's old construction equipment. Nobody knows what it is. And nobody decides to take them and say, hey guys, let's all go down here, check this out. Is there something we can get done or something we can get expedited so that we can number one, take a sample? Because what you're telling me is,
We have samples.
okay, so we have samples.
Yeah.
So if we had to go through that hurdle to get samples, can we not get somebody to go take these drums out of the water and just place them on the
I think
tanks?
she just explained that we did have experts doing that, and we're waiting for the determination of whether we can have to take it out or should take it out, or whether we should leave it.
Right.
We're doing that. We're doing everything you just accused
Yeah,
us of
no,
not doing.
Right, I get it, but why has nobody known about this? Why is this, no, public,
Senator Beck,
Public hearings.
Senator
No,
Beck
publicly,
is,
publicly.
Senator Beck is extremely well aware of it.
Right.
In fact, the park issue that we had on Locust Avenue was really her baby, the nature park. And she's very well acquainted with that entire riverbank. In fact, she was the one who introduced me to, who was the young lady that used to do our environmental work?
Lady what?
She went to Trenton, and she lives over in Philadelphia now.
Lady White.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, like-
Lady White.
Yes.
That was her legislative aide that was in charge of this
And
project.
she wrote letters of support for every one of these efforts.
Yeah, so everyone has been on board with respect to this cleanup. It's not, I realize that you're against, let's say, plastic bags. And I realize you're very angry regarding the,
55-gallon drums in the river, yeah, you bet. I'm really mad because,
and I appreciate the timing of this anger, but I do think that you have to appreciate that we've been committed to cleaning up this for the last 3 or 4 years, and that's one of the reasons why it's been longer, because many, some of the council people have been living here all their lives, and they knew about the garbage dump over there and the incinerator, and it was this council that decided to clean up 4 years ago. So we were able to work with Trenton and get us money, and we were able to work with the DEP to protect our environment. We're also able to work with the DEP under Christie's administration to test the drums, and also to make sure that our national emblem is not disturbed in their testing. I think that, thank God for our legislators who have been working with us and cooperating. I think it's been pretty good so far.
And what you can do is talk to your legislators and ask that they put more funding in the brownfields funds so that there is more money for projects like this to clean up sites, because all it takes is one large site at the Meadowlands or the Kroc Center in Camden, and it's all gone and we're still in line.
Mhm. So just one more time. So just walk through this with me again, if you don't mind. So we've tested the water. Is the water okay? No contaminants? Is that what you're saying? Is it good around, like, I'm...
You're not drinking from that.
So,
Maybe he is, I don't know.
Yeah, well, hey,
You probably have to put a
Hey,
pot in it and burn something.
Hey, Mike, water's expensive in Red Bank.
Not that expensive.
So,
But appreciate your anger.
the answer's not as straightforward as you think, because when you find contamination, you have to determine the source.
Mhm.
So we have monitoring wells, we have to monitor the wells, we have to look at tide cycles, because is the contamination coming from the water to the land, to the shore bank,
Yeah.
or is the ground and the groundwater contamination contaminating the water?
So-
It's a very extensive process that takes time.
Yeah.
So we cannot go back out and do our samples until the DEP approves the report that our professional has put together to go out and do the additional sampling.
right, so...
But the sampling is scheduled for, I think, within the next month. We work that out with the Board of Ed.
Okay, I'm sorry. So has water been sampled? Yes, no?
We have done some preliminary samples.
Okay, so
But
as
the
of right
second round
now,
of
we
samples-
do not know if that is if that stuff is contaminated. We don't know. We just don't know. Okay.
We don't have, I can't give you a good answer.
Right, but the answer is you don't know.
Mayor, how long was that
Garbage
garbage dump over
That-
there?
that-
Garbage dump over there?
It was over 100 years. The smokestack was about, I think, 60 feet tall. I remember the smoke going into the neighborhood when I used to go to school there, Brewer Street. The happiest day for all the neighbors on Sunset Avenue was when that wrecking crew blew down that smokestack, and they were cheering. Of course, there was a lot of dust and other stuff that accumulated. It's a long stage process. As Stanley and Christine have said, this has been a multi-tiered process. It's not going to be over in 6 months. It's not going to be over in all likelihood by next year or the following year. And part of the problem is that these are extraordinarily expensive projects. Any municipality that is doing it has to rely upon state aid. And as Senator Beck has clearly indicated to us before, not only when she was on the council, but now she's a state senator, is that your legislators can do all of the lobbying on your behalf to try to get the money. At the end of the day, the people of the state have to make value decisions on how to apportion those funds if there are emergencies that arise. And so even though we're at the funding level, I believe it is a long process. But the important thing is that we are moving forward, we are making progress, and anyone dealing with DEP knows that it's a long, cumbersome process in terms of even getting responses and administrative resolutions. But we're trying. I mean, our engineer is working on it, and certainly the people in the neighborhood know that there's been progress, even though it's not as fast as most of us would have liked.
Yeah, Mayor, even though the incinerator was there, it was also the landfill for the borough of Red Bank.
Well, we didn't call it a landfill.
We didn't
We used to call it the dump.
And it
But
used to burn once in a while.
as years progressed and things have changed, the borough was required to change how they remove garbage and get rid of it. That piece of property has sat there, and what has gone on there, taking down the smokestack is a fraction of what has happened over there. All paid for by the state, not with, the town's money. And I think when we're using the state's money at this stage, the first stage was to take the smokestack down. They had to test that for a while. That came down, and now they're testing the grounds around it to see how they're going to handle that. At the same time, when they run out of funding, we're the last ones, I wouldn't say we're the last ones on the food chain, but the money goes somewhere else. It's free money. Instead of dipping into our budget or our pockets here in the borough of Red Bank, the state had that program, which we got on. And I won't say we're at the state's mercy, but when they don't have the funding in that pot to continue to finish testing the waters to see how far we can actually go with the project, that's where we're stalled at right now, and what's what we're waiting for, so we can move on. We've had plenty of discussion about how the park would look, or what it would look like, from a boat launch to a soccer field to a theater-like area. That's pretty much the third phase, to keep it simple, after they clean it up and they say, listen, the site's been decontaminated, for better lack of word, and you're ready to go, and they're willing to pay for the park after that as well. So it's during budgetary restraints here, as far as funding, free funding from the state of New Jersey to clean up a bad site that's in the borough of Red Bank, we have to be patient. And, you know, knocking on doors, Senator Beck is always in our corner. She's always gone for open space. She was very much a part of Count Basie, you know, as far as way back in the beginning, we were talking about AstroTurf before we found the proper funding for it. So, you know, we've been on it, it's just that we're at the end of this rope with the state. So hopefully that premolition comes around and we can finish up, we can move along.
I think, Mayor, you know, as a result of your cordial relationship with Senator Beck, but also Governor Christie, that, you know, we've moved great ways in working to get our open protection, our open space, and clean up our rivers and our tributaries. And I just noticed in the paper the other day that I thought Fairhaven just is considering banning smoking in their parks. I guess it includes not only the funny cigarettes, but also the regular cigarettes.
They did, but we have not taken that action, so. I mean, there is no smoking in the playground areas, and that's common sense. You know, you don't want to smoke around little kids in the playground area, so that's bad.
Thanks, Mayor.
Anybody else? If not, is there a motion to adjourn? Oh, I'm sorry. One more resolution, sorry about that. And of course, now that we have another resolution, we have to open it up to the public. Resolution to change the meeting date from November 20th to November 25th at 6:30 p.m.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
All in favor? Okay, anybody want to be heard on that resolution to object? Not? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Sorry,
Thank you.
carried away.
Your council president.